Can men and women be friends? It's been probably a question that a lot of people have asked themselves for decades, most likely in modern times, I would say. Sash, can men and women be platonic friends? What are your initial thoughts?
All right, so this is a tricky one for me, I think. If you just ask me that question without me having to think about it, I'd probably say no. But the more you think about it, there's ways where they can or could be friends, which we'll get into. But yeah, I'm leaning to my lever is leaning towards no.
I am the same. I would be on the thought that no, men and women. Well, it's a no with a but, or it's a yes with a but as well. Like yes, they can, but there are always mitigating circumstances which play into whether they are going to be platonic or not. And there's a couple of things that you need to separate in that relationship. Yeah. Before you can actually say, yeah, we're strictly just friends. And is that like what you sort of get out of it?
Like you said, this one's a bit of a grey area where you can sort of relate to both sides and make your own opinion on it. But yeah, there's a lot of things that would need to be sort of put out in the open for it to work, I think, anyway.
Well, in this instance, we're going to cross to an article which I've pulled out. It is from the Art of Manliness. And as we can read here, obviously we're two blokes. I mean, can I just check? Do I identify as a male?
Yes.
That's a joke, by the way. Yes, we are two males. We produce sperm, ergo we are male. You produce eggs, you are a female. That's how biology works. Now, article here from artofmanliness.com states that you'd think when Harry met Sally would have already settled this question a quarter century ago, but you'd be wrong. The debate continues to come up again and again. It says a big part of the reason why we still haven't definitively answered the question yet is that it's actually a relatively new one. So it says here, for most of human history, men and women basically lived in homosocial worlds and then until they got married, meaning men only hung out with men and women only hung out with women. Even after marriage, men and women for the most part continued to have distinct and separate social lives. Men would hang out with other dudes all day on the hunt in primitive times and at work, or in male-only colleagues in more modern times. Women stayed at camp or at home and hung out with other gal pals. It really wasn't until the late 19th and early 20th century that cross-sex friendships became a thing as more and more women entered the once predominantly male workforce and university system. Men and women had to figure out how to have relationships with each other that weren't romantic or sexual. 100 years later, we're still trying to figure it out. So I think straight off the bat there, it's pretty self-explanatory. I would say there, it pretty much is a case of, we had our own separate spaces. Now our spaces have come together. And how do we sort of get along and associate with one another without actually trying to get, too in depth with each other? Because men would always, try and attract women. Women would always try and attract the best man that they could. That's normally how relationships work. They probably still are in many ways. But because of the 19th and 20th century, with women getting into the workforce, post-modern feminism and all those sorts of things, which I'm all for. I think women should have every right to jump into workforces and do whatever the hell they want to do, and fair play to them. If they succeed, they succeed. Same with men. They can do whatever the hell they want, and they probably always have. But there is something in that the last, say, 50 to 60 years more so, even more so in the last maybe 20 to 30 years, since the late, the 80s, that men and women have really tried to get along and try and keep their sexual urges separate. I mean, is that a fair assumption to you?
Yeah, I think so. But we're pretty much you got to go back to the basis of a friendship, which is people connect in ways like where they have common interests or a common ground where they can relate to one another or share with one another. You know what I mean? And that's what I guess this article is saying, that back then men would hang out with men or women would hang out with women. it's just because we have like more things that we can relate one with each other, you know, like men can bond over cars, sports, you know, certain other things. Not saying that women can't come into that conversation, but then women have their things. They'll talk about makeup or beauty products or all this jazz where I have no interest in that. So they're more likely to hang out and have a friendship group of females as opposed to men and vice versa. Right? So it just goes back to the basis that in order for a friendship to work, you need to have a common ground or share common interests that you can sort of, you know, do together or talk about together. And it's just pretty much like I just said, that whatever you can relate to with a person, it's going to help that friendship grow. So that's where I think that the paths start to sort of split, because it's like, not that it's like I said, it's not that it's impossible to relate to a woman. It's just
we are different. We're different species. Like how many times do we have to say we are different species by nature? It's just we have different interests. It is what it is. It's biology. You could say. But back to the article, says the research basically says social psychologists around the world have actually spent a lot of time researching what's referred to as cross-sex friendships. And what they found is that the old Harry may have been onto something when he quipped that men and women can't be friends because the sex part always gets in the way. Now that is basically the crux of the whole argument. Sex does get in the way because, yeah, you can be friends with a female for a male, you can be friends with a male for a female, but there is always some attraction there. Like the way I describe it is you can be socially friends.
Yeah.
Or you can be one-on-one friends. Social friends is when you're out in a group and you chit-chat with one another, you have a bit of a conversation, you have a laugh, and you have that social setting where everyone's together. One-on-one friends, that's when things start crossing the line from friendship into something else, where it could become sexual or it could become emotionally invested in that sort of aspect there, because the more intimate you get, when I mean intimate, like more one-on-one, the more together you become, the more it sort of stems towards you guys having an interest in one another.
Yeah.
And you can be friends, but one or the other, someone is always going to want more than the other person, whether it's the man who wants more or the female that wants more. There is no set boundary on who actually wants more out of it, but one or the other always ends up wanting more.
No, definitely. I 100% agree. And I think somewhere at some point in that friendship or that relationship, that bond, one party or both parties are going to have feelings. But then it comes into like people start to consider the fact that is it worth ruining that bond, that friendship? I don't know why it would ruin it. Like it really comes down to the individual. Like, but a lot of people think that, oh, if I admit or own up to these feelings I have for my friend, friendship's over. And it's like, well, it doesn't have to be. It's just, you know, what you make out of the situation. But I agree. Like I've been in that situation before.
Well, you could argue the fact that you become friends and then it develops into something else. Like I know in high school there were a couple in my year who were friends at first, then they got into something else further. They got into a relationship. They ended up getting married. I think they actually ended up getting divorced. Don't know what happened there, but I know that that's how it started. It started as friendship, and then it got into something more because the guy, I know this for a fact, the guy developed feelings for the girl, and she probably thought, you know what, decent bloke, he's going to have himself a good career. He'll probably be a good carer, provide, family, all this sort of stuff. She was no tree stump herself. She was very smart. Very smart lady herself. And I just go back to the whole thing of like there's always someone who wants more than the other person, and it's whether the other person who isn't looking at it in that aspect, if they're willing to say, yeah, you know what, I can go forward from this. I can go to the next step. It's like Zack and Miri make a porno. You know that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like two friends, platonic friends from high school all the way together. Then they end up getting it on camera because they run short of money and funds and they need it to pay rent, so they make a crappy porno film. And it's that thing like, if you do have sex, does then that ruin that friendship? If you've had a platonic friendship for as long as you can remember, possibly. I don't know that it does for sure. It could lead on to something more. It could be something that the guy just says, yeah, all right, cool, that's over and done with. Now I can continue because there's tension there. Now we can just be friends again. But the female might then say, oh, actually, you know what? Actually, that wasn't too bad. I want more of it. And the bloke's like, no, thank you. Yeah. And the same can be said for the female as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've been in that situation in high school when I was younger, when I was like just first into high school. And it's like, but then now me and that girl are like really good friends now. And it's like, but that just came down to our personal traits. Like we were both easygoing people. And it's like, okay, well, whatever. One of us owned up to it. Who cares? Like, it's all good. Like, man, it's like, you're young, man. You know, like,
yeah,
you don't take anything by it. But as you get older, it's a little bit more interesting. This is why I think like friendships between male and female, if they were developed like at a young age, so like if you've got like family friends that you don't like, you're not related, but like your family grew up with their family, and like you and the girl in that family grew up together.
Yep.
You almost look at them as a sister.
Yeah.
You know that's never going to happen.
Yep.
And you don't want it to happen.
I know the situation as well.
Like if that bond was built at a very young stage.
Yep.
Yes, you can be friends, and you'll probably remain friends for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
If you were to meet a female, or a female was to meet a male in their 20s,
different story.
Massive different story. There's no way, not that there's no way, but like you don't speak to someone at those ages or at that, stage in your life without other interests or other agendas that you're trying to do first and foremost.
Yep.
Talking from a guy's perspective, generally we're hitting, like we've spoken about this in other pods, where we're pretty much hitting up a woman to either date or sleep with. Then if that doesn't work out and you're like chill enough to keep around as a mate, we're
if
cool.
You want to.
If you want to, that's
though.
what I'm saying. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know what goes through women's heads in terms of like why would approach a man. I assume
if they even would. That's another question.
Well, that's on them. But like, do you know what I mean? Like, if they were to, I don't know, like we'd have to ask a female because I don't know, but I'm assuming it'd be pretty similar. Like if they were to approach a man, it'd because they find him attractive or whatever, or they see something. But then if it was brought to their attention that, I'm not interested or whatever, it'd be up to them on how they react to that and whether they want to continue the friendship or not. I guess that's why, like, you see a lot of females have like gay best friends, I think.
Yes, they get that because they know that male aspect out of it, but there's nothing there.
Yeah, they know that sex is never going to happen. No attraction is going to happen.
Yeah.
So
funny you say that because moving on to the next section here, it says researchers, not reachers. Well, you could be reaching really if you think about it. Researchers found out that while women were generally not attracted to their male friends and saw the relationship as strictly platonic, the men usually had romantic feelings for their lady friends. Not only were the guys more attracted to their supposedly platonic female buds, they also mistakenly believed that the feelings were reciprocal and they were more willing to act on their erroneously perceived mutual attraction. I've got a bit to say on this. Just to finish off reading here, it says, thus the study suggests that women generally think that guys and gals can just be friends, while men secretly hoping there's a chance their relationship with their female friends can be something more. Basically, this study gives us the scientific explanation for the friend zone, which is exactly what I'm going to get into. Women and men are often on completely different wavelengths when it comes to their cross-sex relationships. So, straight off the bat, this is what I'm talking about when I say men and women can be friends, but with a but. Because women will befriend a bloke because there is something that she could benefit from him. And I've had certain people, you know who you are watching this now, who've said to me, why can't men and women just be friends? Because there's always a transaction to be had. And what I mean by transaction, it's not like a sexual transaction or a monetary transaction. It's something. She will dump her emotions and her feelings onto you and talk about what's going on in her life. You get no benefit from it, but she feels like she's talking to a bloke, and then she'll go out and do something with another guy she's actually sexually attracted in who has no interest in her. So it's like the flip side of that, you know what I mean? On the return side, for the guy with the female, the guy's always going to be in there with the intention that she may turn around one day and say, you know what, I'm actually into this bloke. But she's keeping him around because she gets benefit of having someone always around her, asking how her day is, how is she, that she's good looking, that she's pretty, and all these sorts of things on the basis and the hope that she will give him some. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas the blokes, they're looking at it and they're thinking, you know what, I'm going to keep trying, I'm going to be the one I'm going to be so nice to, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And that's why you're in the friend zone, because you approach it from that friendship standpoint. If you don't approach it from that friendship standpoint, if you go straight to the point and say, look, I think you're attractive, I want to take you out on a date, you know what, ultimately, I want to get into your pants. They might look at you and give you a slap to the face. They might throw a drink in your face, whatever. I don't think that's pretty cool. I think a simple like, no, thank you, walk away should suffice. And the bloke should be smart enough and game enough to say, cool, no dramas, I'll go on to the next one. Because as I said in the last one, don't chase, replace.
Yeah.
So that's where I stand on it. Like, women benefit being friends with men because they get something in return from them, whether it's validation, they can talk to them about their feelings about other guys, or they'll ask the particular bloke how to go about getting with another guy in particular, and this bloke's going to give a bad advice because he doesn't want it to go ahead. And on the flip side, she's going to keep him along and he's going to think he's got a chance in with her because they're good friends together. And it's like, it doesn't work out. And I've been in that position before, and it pains me to say it, but man, I was such a schmuck when it came to that. I think back now, it was in my late teens, early 20s. I just think, what an absolute idiot I was. Like, why did I keep going forward with this when there was no interest whatsoever? And I was basically just being used. I was an emotional tampon, if you think about it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's right, but I don't know. I think, like we said, I think with the coming of age and experience per se, the more sort of exposure you've had to these situations, you start to sort of adapt and change the person you are. Not change the person you are, but like you change with the times. You know what I mean? So you start to be a bit more aware of when when you're being sort of just strung along and all that sort of. You develop a sense really, so you can sort of change the way you do things. So if you feel like you're just in the friend zone, then I don't know. Maybe some guys are okay with just being friends, and whatever.
Well, some are, but whatever. Like,
if you're not, then you have the option to just be like, okay, well, and move on. And see, you know what I mean? Like,
but see,
I'll be honest, I don't have much female friends these days. Like,
but hang on a second. You just said it had an interesting point there. You say, cool. Well, if we don't want to go ahead with it, then we'll just say thanks, so you bye.
Yeah.
How's a female going to react to you saying like, oh, well, this isn't working out for me? I'm going like, oh, so you just surround me because you want to get into my pants, and or say, well, yes and no, but I'm really not getting any benefit from this. I mean, I'm not getting anything extra that I'm getting from you that I can't get from my actual male friends. I mean, I have male friends that I'm friends with. Why do I need a female to be friends with a female? I'm friends with females. I get friendly with females so I can get friendly with them. Does that make sense? That's not to say we're not friendly. I'm friendly with a lot of females and there's no interest, no intention in it whatsoever. But they can then perceive it to be like, well, you know what? He's a bloke. I'm a decently attractive woman. He's not going to say no to me. Wrong. I've done it before and I'll continue to do it again. Men do say no to women. Just because, you're a female does not mean any old bloke is just going to say yes to you. Like, it's just a fact of life. The same way you say no to men because there's no attraction that you have for them, the same way men say no to women, there's no attraction that they have for them. You might be good looking, but they're just not attracted to you. Like, it is what it is, man.
No, you're right. Exactly. So for me, it's just, mate, like I said, I want to be mates, like I said before, with people that I have common interests with, that I can share my time with and do things that we both enjoy doing. There's got to be something that connects us, man. Like, whether it's a male or female, well, that can vary, but generally speaking, most of the time you're going to bond with the same sex only because you have a lot more things you can relate to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, I personally, like I just said before, not that I don't have, like, I know a lot of females and I'm friendly with a lot of females.
You're friendly with them, but you're not.
But like, I'm not going to be calling you to come to the basketball with me on the weekend.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because
exactly.
I don't know. Maybe you might like basketball. That's fine.
You will never know it though.
Yeah, well,
Unless they specifically say, "Oh, let's go play basketball, let's go kick a ball around, cool, no dramas."
Yeah.
But that might be their ploy as well to try to get closer to you, or that could be a cock block. Because I tell you now, man, women are very, very wily creatures. They will remain friends with you to stop you from talking to other females because they know as soon as another female comes into your life, they'll start gaining your attention, and that takes away from her attention. From you, you know what I mean?
Straight
so
facts.
it is what it is, man.
That's a funny when you bring that up. Actually,
it is what it is, man.
Happened to me in high school. I had this one, like, I don't know. She reckoned she was my best mate, but it is what it is, right? There was always tension between us, but anyway, as soon as like
that tension is dangerous.
Yeah, right. Anyway, as soon as high school finished, and we sort of didn't go our separate ways. Like we were still in contact with one another. But yeah, we sort of broke apart. And then I had this, I met this one chick at a party, and she was like to me, "Oh, do you like?" She wanted me to do her a favor and put up on like Facebook. She added me on Facebook, and she's like, "Oh, can you pretend to be my boyfriend?" So she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna put on her Facebook thing like in a relationship with me because." I don't know, something to do with the ex-boyfriend. Anyway, I was like, whatever. I'm like, I'll help you out.
What did I just say?
I said, whatever, I'll help you out.
What did I just say?
I ended up getting with the girl, but still different story.
Still, you know what I mean?
And I was like, all right, I'll help you out. So I helped her out. I accepted the thing. And then I went home, and I totally forgot that I actually did it. And I cop a message from this chick from high school that was my mate, or I don't know, whatever.
Supposed friend. She's
like to me, "Oh, how come you didn't tell me you were in a relationship?" I said, "I'm not."
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, well, who's this on your Facebook?" I said, "Oh,
forgot about that." Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh, why are you lying to me?" I said, "What are you talking about?"
What's it to you? What's it to you anyway?
Yeah, anyway, I'm just like, what the hell's going on here? Like, what? I said, "Why do you even care?" I said, "We're just mates." She's like, "Oh, well," and then she like just didn't reply. I'm just like, anyway, I took it down. She's like, "Oh, so you're not in a relationship?" I said, "No." I'm just like. So that like led me to think, I'm like, okay, well, either she was interested in me, because like, why else would she ask if I'm in a relationship, and why the hell did I need to tell her?
Exactly. That's got no business of hers. There is no need for you to tell anyone your business. That is yours and yours alone. If I happen to tell you something, it's because I wanted to tell you. You are my mate. There are so many things I haven't told you.
Yeah.
You 100%. Haven't told me many things. There are so many things I haven't told other friends of mine that are watching this. Just because I haven't told you does not mean we are not friends, or that I don't value you or trust you, anything like that. Sometimes things are just better kept to ourselves because you do not need to know. That's all it is. And ladies, they always have a need to know, even when it is no fucking business of their own, and it pisses me right off. And yes, I swore, because that's how annoying it gets. Ladies, know this. Do not question a bloke to the point of annoying him, because there are sometimes things he just does not want to disclose because you do not need to know. Just because you want to know does not give you any more right than him actually disclosing this information to you. So cut it out, man. Just
but then
you
get put on the group chat and made fun of anyway.
Oh, I've copped it as well. I know I've copped it. I've seen screenshots before from certain places from a year or two ago. I know things like this happen, and you know what? That's what I say. I don't care what happens to me, man, because I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I got no qualms. I don't care. So continuing with this article here after that little segue there, but yeah, friend zones, they are real. See, for men get put in the friend zone. Women get put in the fuck zone. You heard that one?
Yeah.
That's that.
I agree.
You better believe that's real. And they're the ones because they can't get the bloke's attention and time, and that's what really cooks them. But that's a discussion for another day.
Fuck zone.
That's a discussion for another day. Says here, so can men and women be friends or not? Says so. It seems, and we're gonna have a bit of a look into a questionnaire from a survey of about 1,450 people from Match.com some years ago now. But it's going to be an interesting one. So as we just finished reading here, says here every person's situation is different, and the number of opinions on this subject are numerous and often heatedly held. So that's what we just said. Like it does depend. Nonetheless, humbly submit. Says I will nonetheless humbly. I can't even read. Humbly submit that the best way to gauge the validity of cross-sex friendships is by using a sliding scale. girded by two general guidelines. The first is what you mentioned before. Having a cross-sex friendship becomes progressively harder from middle school through college and finally into adulthood. The less people are thinking of getting into serious relationships, the easier and more carefree male-female friendships are to navigate. So if you are not looking for a relationship, you can be friends with them. You can, that can then stem to a friend with benefit. That can be an FB, or that can literally just be someone you just associate with, you chit chat with, that is a female. And for the ladies as well, there could be a male who will sleep with half of Sydney and they'll give you the information. You get a gauge into the male life. If that's what they want to do, that's what they'll do. So you can't say it's good on one side and bad on the other. Both have their pros and cons.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm just going to add to that.
It says cross-sex friendships in elementary school, no problem, because you're in primary school, you're just friends.
Exactly.
You got no idea what's happening. In high school, again, neutral. College, still decent, but it gets more here and there because the hormones are rising and all that sort of stuff. And then when it comes through, are you just friends? And then when you're older and more folks in your circle are married and getting married, things start to get sticky. That brings, it says here, as per the article, that brings me to my second guideline. Cross-sex friendships become increasingly difficult the greater the commitments one or both of friendships have with their romantic partners. So, the greater the commitments one or both have with their romantic partners. So if you're a young single bloke and have the lady friends you want, I mentioned above, opposite sex friendships give you insight into how the female mind works. As I just said, you are just friends, you're in a relationship, you're chit-chatting with a female, she'll ask questions, you'll give her the insight to what it's like for a bloke. You know what I mean? Or if you're a male and you have a female friend, she'll give the insight to what it's like for a female, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It says here, which can help you successfully navigate the dating scene and just make you an all-round more perceptive guy. It says, and of course, the other benefit of opposite-sex friendships is that they sometimes lead to fulfilling romantic relationships. Many solid marriages began from solid friendships, which is, I think you said that at the start, didn't you?
Yeah.
Or we said it. You can be friends and then progress into something more than that. But that depends on how far you want to take it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm going to speak from my own perspective, but if I was probably earlier in my years, if I was put into the friendship, I probably would have, been persistent and stuck around in that hope. But these days, if I get put into the friend zone, like, it's pretty much done for me.
Yeah.
And as a guy, like, I don't know, man, like how long are you going to be persistent knowing that you're not going to go anywhere? Like, why would you? And you know what I mean? Like, sooner or later, as time passes by, like the feelings start to change. So, like, if you get put into the friend zone, right? You're going into the friend zone fully committed to the fact that you think you have a chance. As time passes and you start to rationalize that, no, it's not going to happen, the feelings start to go. Then all of a sudden, like down the track, you're thinking to yourself, what the hell am I doing here? And then all of a sudden, the girl might start developing feelings, but then you're over it. So what do you do?
But you know what? On that flip side there, you know what the interesting thing is there? You know when guys get angry? Dude, I'll tell you ladies, do you know why guys get angry when they've spent a month, 6 months, a year or longer, if they're dumb enough, pursuing you and trying to convince you or trying to actually get you to show feelings for them. And when it's finally come to light that you actually don't have any feelings for them and they're like, well, I just wasted all this time, I'm so over it. Do you know why they get angry? Because they wasted all that time on you when you gave nothing in return. Wasted time. There is nothing worse than wasted time for a bloke. And this probably goes for ladies as well. But for men, there's nothing more than I hate than having my time wasted. I hate having my time wasted. I am giving you a few hours of my time, whatever it is, and I get nothing back in return that's of value to me, whether that is if we're looking to get it on, if we're looking to actually hang out and discuss movies or TV shows or music or whatever it is, that's not a problem. But don't waste our time, because guys get angry when you have strung us along for so many hours, days, months, weeks, and we've got nothing of value back. That's what pisses us off, because there is untapped potential that we will not get back. We could have done so many other things with our time instead of like, chasing you around and trying to get with you. Like, tell us straight from the get-go, like, it's not happening. Then if the bloke makes his own decision, he can make his own decision whether he wants to keep going or say no thank you. And if he says no thank you very much, you have no right to get angry at him because you're not interested in him whatsoever. So a bloke does not have to be friends with you if you decide that he does not want to, if you decide you're not going to get it on with him or there's no sexual attraction there. I mean, am I crazy or am I being fair? Because it happens to men all the time. Women say, I'm not interested, no thank you, cool, no dramas, bye, see you later.
Yeah, well, that's
same thing happens to same thing happens to females. It's like, oh, so you're only friends with me because you're trying to get with me. It's like, probably. Unless I have a genuine interest in you, I think you're actually fun to hang out with and have a laugh with, cool, no dramas. But don't expect anything else from me. Yeah, and when I give you my time, it's liberal. Do not milk it.
All right. Well, let me ask you a question there, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying all that, right? Would you, like, if a chick friend zoned you, like not even friend zoned you, let's just say, like, how much time, like, are you going to be hitting up a chick to be like, let's go for a coffee or whatever if you're just friends? Or
no, unless I've known them for a long while and we've established that there's literally nothing else going on there. There is no sexual attraction, there's no tension, none of that sort of stuff, which I do have female friends like that. I'll catch up with them every now and again. We'll just have a laugh, have a chat, and then that's it, we're done with. But I'm not going to be saying like, oh, hey, let's go hang out, whatever, if I have no interest in them. You know, get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's what we discussed the other week or the other podcast. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like, it is what it is, man. All right, let's finish reading this last little bit here, then we'll get into some of the Q&A because we've gone on for over half an hour now. Probably repeated a few talking points, but some things just had to be said. And you know what? If you have any qualms against what I say or what Sash says, drop us a comment, leave us some feedback, let us know what you think. If you think men and women can be friends, are men all the gronks? Are women to blame as well for stringing these men along because, you know, they get like a, hey, beautiful, how are ya? You know, let's go out for a drink. I can't do it now. Sorry, I'm busy. I got my girl. I don't know. I'll let you know. Because that shit pisses me off, man. Just say like, yeah, it's not happening. Cool, no dramas. I won't ask you again. But then,
I don't think I've ever texted a chick, hey, beautiful, if I'm not like,
you know what I mean? But there are so many blokes out there that do it, man. There are so many out there that do it. If there is interest there, it will be reciprocated. If it's not being reciprocated, there's no interest there, ladies. Anyways, to finish this bit here, says, so can men and women be friends? Sure, with caveats. The caveats, after all, are what make this complicated issue so interesting and ensure we'll still be discussing this question for another 100 years. So again, caveats, you know, do you just have the same interests? Are you both attractive people? If you're attractive people, well then, you know, there could be some attraction you might develop amongst yourselves. Is it that you're just friends within the same social circle? Do you actually hang out one-on-one? Whatever the case may be, there are some questions to be said there. But here it is here from Psychology Today, the Q&As. So it says here, researchers tell us that men and women can be friends, but do we really believe them? A survey of more than 1,450 members of Match.com dating site revealed that we're an optimistic bunch. So number one, do you believe men and women can be platonic friends? 83% said yes, 11% said no, unsure 6%. So the vast majority said, you know what, yeah, they can be platonic friends. Number two, have you had a platonic friendship that crossed the line and became romantic or sexual? 62% said yes, 36% said no, 2% were unsure. So 62% out of those 1,450 people, so that's what, around about 760 odd people, they've all said, yeah, we actually crossed over and became a little bit sexual. They maybe still remain friends, but they got it on in one way or another. They hooked up. They actually, you know, slept together, whatever. They don't really make clear what sexual means. Yeah. So we'll just say something happened between them. Does that surprise you, though, between the first two? Like 83% said, yeah, they can be, but then 62% said, yeah, they've actually crossed over.
Yeah, well, like I said at the start, like if you were to just ask someone that first question, a lot of people would probably just answer with a yes or no, right? Because they're not thinking about the fact that, okay, feelings might develop or this might happen or that might happen. Sorry.
Yeah.
But
it's just like, yeah, they can. Okay, but what if this and what if that?
Yeah, so once you start to actually like delve into different aspects of it, then that's when the second
Yeah.
question, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
comes into it and then it starts to chop and change a bit.
Yeah, well, they're the caveats after all. 3, who is more likely to misinterpret the intimacy or friendship for sexual desire? 64% said men, 25% said women, 11% unsure. So yeah, as we said, men generally would be, because let's be real, a lot of men these days, or a lot of men in general, probably will see a female's genuine wants or approach for friendship and misinterpret it for a sexual advance. You know what I mean? It is pretty much what the case normally is. But on the same token, on the flip side there, just because a man approaches a female as well doesn't mean he wants to get into her pants. So ladies, we do have standards, okay? We don't just run after you just for the sake of it because we want to get in there. Sometimes we genuinely just want to be friends as well. And as we've discussed, there are ifs and buts to that. Number 4, is it possible to fall in love with someone who first enters your life as a friend? 94% said yes, 4 said no, 2% unsure. Is that fair? Love is a strong word.
Yeah, but that, to me, there's the only way that's ever going to happen if the person's attractive. That's the only way that'll ever happen.
Yeah.
So if you look at someone and you think they're attractive, that can come to realization. If you look at someone that from the get-go and say, no, you've ruled it out. You know that's nothing's ever going to happen there. That's just me.
Here's a question for you. What is the time period between friends to romantic? What is it for you?
For me, no, you know straight away for me.
You do. But
well, for me anyway.
If you start talking to someone just in a circle of friends, like you're not really attracted to them, but they're cute, but you just start talking in a social circle, then it moves from the social circle and it becomes more of a one-on-one thing.
Here we go. Like, you got to define cute for me. Like, is cute like she's good enough to smash?
Yes.
But
and good enough to hang around to keep as well.
Like to date?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, like how long is that period for you between when you've become friends to when there's actually some romantic involvement in there? What is it for you?
Oh, well, like
is it months, weeks?
No, for me, it's, you know, straight away, like, okay, she's good enough to, like, she's attractive enough to approach. If she's attractive enough to approach for you, I don't go into talking to women to think I'm going to be mates with them.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, like, you just started talking to someone in a particular social circle. You weren't straight away, you thought, oh, yeah, she's kind of cute, but you didn't think too much into it. Then the more you spoke to her, the more you got into it. Well, you know what I mean?
You'd have to speak to him.
What's your time period between friends to like interest?
Depends on how many times you see the person.
Like a couple of months.
Yeah, if they're hanging around you regularly, like you're seeing them once, twice a week.
Yeah,
that social setting once, twice a week, then it'll develop a lot quicker than,
of course,
if you were seeing them once a month. You know?
Yeah. So my thing is like 2 to 3 months seeing each other, a couple of times a month. You know, chit chatting here and there as well. I think that's pretty fair. Like friends to but there has to be an understanding. There has to be an understanding there.
Do you know how many times I've been told off? Told off, I guess, is the right word to use. But like people are like, oh, because I always say to them that the physical attraction is what comes first.
100%.
And a lot of ladies people are like to me, no. Like, what do you mean?
Oh, ladies.
If you didn't find me attractive, you wouldn't be talking to me.
Exactly. Ladies will always say something like, oh, but it's actually the personality and how they present themselves that's really attractive. Okay, but that bloke who's got a rugged jawline and he's like built like a tank and whatever, or he's got to be at least decently looking. He's got to be decently looking. He's got to have a bit of a body on there, some sort of charm to him. The eyes are what point these things out first, not up here. You need to look at someone to say, you know what? They look pretty good. They look interesting. I want to go talk to them. I've never heard any bloke or any woman say, I just love their I just saw you across the hallway and I just love your personality. Fuck out of here with that shit, man. Honestly.
Oh,
fuck out of here with that shit. What have we got here? Number 5. Do you hope that you'll fall in love, your partner will have started... So, do you hope that when you fall in love, your partner will have started out as your friend? This whole, you know what? It's this whole notion of like, you know, I want my partner to be my best friend sort of a thing. It's like, do you really though?
But yeah, well, you grow into that, I reckon.
Yes.
'Cause like I've been in a relationship, and honestly, the further you go along with the person, you genuinely feel like they're your best mate.
Yeah.
Right? But that
makes
like
sense.
we just said, it comes with the amount of time you're spending with the person, man. Like you don't like for myself, I don't like I said, I don't approach someone unless I think
Unless
something
you're
can happen,
interested.
right?
Exactly.
And then what we just spoke about happens where we start hanging out a bit more regularly.
There's more interest.
And there's more interest,
Yes,
right?
agreed.
And then they grow
Agreed.
into like
100%.
you might be dating, but then you look at them as like, yeah, she's my best mate or he's my best mate, right?
Yep, 100%. Agreed.
You don't start off as friends in the hope that it's going to develop into something more.
That doesn't add. That's all cap, man. That's all cap there. Number 6, who is better at keeping sex out of a platonic relationship? Men 13%, women 67%, unsure 20%. I agree. You know what? There's a saying out there, and it goes, women have sex with who they choose, men have sex with who they can. Because ultimately, women choose who they have sex with. Men have sex with who they can have sex with. Does that make sense? Yeah. Which is why I say women are generally always more so better at keeping things platonic, because obviously if a man advances on a female and it's unwarranted, we call that sexual assault, and that is not good. And I don't advise anyone do that, male or female. So there is something to that, which I think that should be higher. I think it should be like women at least 80%. And with the 20% that are unsure, it's like most of the time. That's pretty. Most of the time, it's women who are like, yeah, look, it's not happening. But there is also a chance where it could be men as well. But I think that's pretty fair. Yeah, well, men would not would keep sex out of a relationship if they didn't find the person attractive. Exactly. So that's where we say, like, you know what, I don't mind being friends with you. I don't find you sexually attractive, so that's all good and well. So there you go. We could have summed this up from the get-go already if we just said, you know what, yeah, if you're not sexually attractive, yeah, we can be mates. But but why would you want to be mates with someone if you're not, if you can get the same out of it with the male instead of a female? You get what I'm saying? Like you said, I'd rather be mates with someone my own sex and gender than of the opposite. Like, if you don't really get any other benefit out of it, like you might get some insight into how ladies operate and the minds of women and that sort of stuff there. But is that really what you want? You'll just become that gay best friend who's not gay. True. You know what I mean? Yeah, don't want that. Anything final to add before we wrap it up? No, I think we've been around this track a few times. We have. I think we actually repeated ourselves a few times, actually. Apologies for that. But these things all cross into each other, man. They all intersect. They all cross over and cross-sex friendships. So, ladies, next time you want to be friends with a bloke that you find attractive but he has no interest in you, just remember that sometimes they don't want to be friends with you, and if they are, they're going to try and get into your pants. It does happen. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just it is what it is. And fellas, just because you find a female attractive does not mean you have to be a friend. If she doesn't find you attractive or doesn't reciprocate anything, don't pursue it anymore. Just let it go. If she gets the shits with you, say, I'm doing you a favor. I'm stepping away from you. So, I'm trying to pursue you for X, Y, Z. You don't want X, Y, Z, so I'm out. There's no reason for me to hang out with you anymore. You get no benefit hanging out with me than you would hanging out with your female friends. You know what I mean? So just as long as people don't get the shits with that. Like if you don't, but they do. That's the problem. They do. They do. Hey, I'm not interested. Cool, no dramas. Off to the next one. Bye. Yeah, because like I said, I know heaps of females, or whatever, and I'm not hanging out with them every day or every second day, or correct. You know what I mean, or even once a week. But like that doesn't mean that you're not like I don't consider you. You're still a friend. Right, you're still a friend, but like it's if I see you, I'm going to say hi to you and we can have a chat or whatever. But like. You're that friend that you're like an acquaintance, right? If I see you, whatever, we're cool, we're good. Yes. Like I'm not going to be hitting you up on my phone or sending you a message or calling you up saying, "Hey, do you want to come for a run or for a walk or come to the gym or something?" Like, no, man. Like, there's different levels of friendship. Unless you know what, you can sum this up by saying there's always sexual tension or sexual attraction when it comes to these situations. There are no two ways about it. It is what it is. We have been two men with an opinion. I'm Nick. That is Sash. That's it. Till the next one, stay classy.